Cycling and running are two very different disciplines, and being a cyclist who unfortunately did lose to a runner in a 100-meter race, I thought I would have to try and restore some pride to the name of cycling. And in order to do so, I would go for one of the most prestigious running records, that being a marathon record, but not any marathon record, the London Marathon record. The London Marathon record stands at 2 hours, 1 minute and 25 seconds, held by the 2023 winner of Kelvin, Kiptum, who was an absolutely extraordinary talent that the world will probably never see again, and it was really unfortunate and saddened everyone to see him pass away this year. So in his memory, I thought I would try and see if I could beat his record, but obviously not running, even though I have run the London Marathon myself, nowhere near his time, of course. But I would do so by cycling the London Marathon, and you would think that me cycling 42 kilometers would be very easy to do when it's just over 2 hours in terms of time, but you forget one thing: I would be doing it in London traffic. So I got myself to the start, and it was time to start my London Marathon experience on my bike. Even my start was a bit slow, not quite clipping in properly, but Kiptum and his paces had no problem with doing so. I had clean road, and it looked like I was going to have a quite enjoyable path, building up a few seconds towards Kiptum. But then London hit me straight away, traffic jam with an ambulance, and that looked like I was starting to lose my advantage already, having about 20 seconds of an advantage early on, but that was quickly filtering away. Clean road then proceeded, and Kiptum keeping a very comfortable pace behind the paces, but then I had my first obstruction in terms of a traffic light, and this was something I was going to have to deal with throughout the ride itself. But there was a lot of clean road in the beginning and a bit of downhill as well, so I was quick to build up the lead, and in the first 5-6 kilometers I already had a lead of about 2.5 minutes, but these traffic lights were really starting to take a dent out of my advantage, taking about 20 to a minute out of my lead, and then obviously getting back into speed as well. But Kiptum keeping that very steady pace, as we know, as he was so good at, but again another traffic light just taking another few seconds out of my lead. At this point I only had about a minute's lead over Kiptum. The traffic jam was absolutely horrendous everywhere, even when there weren't any traffic light, to say the least.
Kiptum is coming. I'm losing.
I then had to go through this place where it said no cycling, but I had to ignore that for the time being. And I came around the beautiful ship with a margin of about 4 minutes in hand at this point. So we were about a fourth of the way through, and I was struggling to find the way a bit as well. So that was a few seconds lost as well. But once I returned to the road, again, I had problems with traffic, but Kiptum, no problem there for him and fellow rivals. But as soon as I got on the cycle path, there wasn't too much problem, and Kiptum as well, having worse weather as well than I did, so that was certainly a factor. But the traffic lights were stacking up, another traffic light just halting me again, but then there was this clean road with no traffic lights, and I really started to build up the advantage once again. Then when we came into Tower Bridge, this was where you could really see the gap between me and Kiptum. I had about a 4-minute advantage to him and his fellow companions, and this was a sizable lead that I could take into the next part of the race, and that was of course venturing towards Canary Wharf. There was a lot of traffic towards Canary Wharf, and this was really starting to take chunks out of my lead already, and Kiptum still in a very elite group. There were about 7 runners with him, but me, no support other than just blockades of cars, but I had clean air at this point. But that clean air quickly disappeared with a huge lorry with a lift blocking my path, and my entrance to Canary Wharf wasn't as smooth as I was hoping for. Once I got into Canary Wharf, it was a bit of a smoother prospect, and this was around the same time as Kiptum decided to ditch everyone of his rivals and headed towards the finish line by himself. but I didn't quite have as smooth as an approach to the finish. The finishing part of the course was of course towards London Bridge, passing Temple, passing Blackfriars, and then getting into Westminster before turning towards Buckingham Palace. Kiptum here we can see was really upping the pace, and I was struggling to as well to hold on. I was passing as many e-bikes as possible, but it was hard as we were both coming up to this approach very close in time here, extremely close in time, and Kiptum just an absolutely remarkable athlete to say the least. I was still having problems with the lights, but maneuvering around that, and Kiptum no problems for him, and it was getting really tight in terms of the advantage. It was pretty neck and neck. I was doing my best. I could see Big Ben. It was all riding in my favor. I was thinking at this point, I thought I had quite a few seconds in hand, or even a minute, but it didn't look like the comfort of Big Ben wasn't enough as Kiptum was fast approaching. I was coming towards the Parliament, and there was the sight that I did not want to see. A red light on this busy crossing, not exactly what you wanted to see when you have the best marathon runner after you at this point. And as I come around, Kiptum is very close to me as well, and I swing past Big Ben, say a quick hello. You can see the big buses and all the taxis waiting for me as well. The worst position to be in with a red light as well, the huge amount of traffic here. Kiptum was gliding up the road, so there was no danger for him to be stopped like this. I was trying my best to maneuver to the front with a motorbike that I desperately needed at this point if I was going to be able to do something. I went with the other bikes, and it looked at this point that it was very slim pickings if I was going to be able to break the record. In terms of the record, Kiptum was in my heels here. He had passed Big Ben himself. I was stuck in this log of a pedestrian walk, many pedestrians not knowing what a red light means, but I was trying my best to get through them and get on that final straight if I could possibly do so. It didn't look like it was in my favor right now, the record, and once again it looked like I would just be able to beat the red light for once, but then getting towards the path I almost got hit by a van, and here you can see the bike path. It was just me, the straight, and I could almost see Buckingham Palace. It was a false sense of security here, but was I going to be able to make it all the way down to the palace and then turn around to get on the Mall? That was the big question here. I was doing my best. The seconds were ticking by. It was very close now. It was less than 2 minutes to go here, and then it was another red light right before the Buckingham Palace, not exactly where you wanted to stop. Meanwhile, Kiptum was coming around the final corner himself, and it looked like he was just going to pip me to the win here, if this even was a contest at this point. Man versus machine, and it looked like man was definitely going to be winning this one. The traffic log absolutely just destroying my race, and Kiptum just even having time to go the wrong way for a brief moment, and the kicker in my race as well. Another red light right before the Mall, and Kiptum at this point was coming up to the plaudits and getting that record of the London Marathon that we know he already has. And the kicker even here, as Kiptum finished, I had another traffic light to deal with as well, so I didn't actually even finish after that traffic light. So Kiptum, your record couldn't even be beaten by me on a bike, and absolutely an extraordinary athlete who was taken far too soon, and what an absolutely inspirational talent he was. But yeah, I couldn't quite beat his time, and my official time at the end on the bike was 2 hours, 2 minutes and about 12 seconds, so I couldn't quite beat his time. But anyways, that's basically it for this video. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here on the Cycling Dane Action channel. Let's try and get to 1,000 subscribers, and just another moment to acknowledge how extraordinary of a talent Kelvin Kiptum was. But with that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you around.